Our lives, our homes, our health. Our lives, our homes, our health. Our lives, our homes, our health.
We have two things that are happening to our tenants after we survive Rafael Toledano. One is Frankensteining. Frankensteining is when you take two apartments and blend them into one so that you can charge a higher rent.
Yeah, these are the apartments so far that have been slated to be Frankenstein in our 15-building portfolio. More to be added, but if you look at the total number of rent-regulated apartments that we are going to lose is 60. 60.
My name's Sam Kiera. I am with the Stand for Tenant Safety Coalition. We work to now enforce legislation that protects tenants from constructionist harassment, though apparently not all the time, because this is harassment, is it not? Right? Am I wrong about this?
Yeah.
This is insane to me, right? Like, look at the number of apartments that have been combined in just these two buildings, right? And we know that the landlord has an economic incentive to do this, right? And part of that economic incentive is going to drive this landlord to harass you guys, right?
And I can speak for all tenants in my building when I say that the demolition of Frankensteining of these rent-stabilized units is very disruptive. Horrible and stressful to be living in a building where shoddy demolition is going on.
We have elected officials, some of them are here, who care about tenants' rights. They passed bills that helped us as tenants, but one loophole that still exists, and I think it was because COVID was hitting and it didn't get done right before that, was this Frankensteining. And Frankensteining is an effort to evade rent stabilization.
We cannot have folks like Holly and others living in these inhumane conditions, substandard, not subject to regulation, while a landlord is trying to make a quick buck. We've seen that movie before. We have to put an end to it.
And the loophole that we're talking about today is the thing that says when two apartments are combined or reconfigured, the rent has to be reset on the new apartment. Now that might make sense, but currently HCR's rules allow the state housing and community renewal agency, their rules allow that rent to be set from scratch without much restriction on what the new rent is. So landlords like this are saying, let's combine two affordable apartments and make them into one larger, very unaffordable apartment, or in some cases even just two differently configured apartments.
Tenants should not suffer constant construction harassment and other intrusions into the quiet enjoyment of their homes simply because financially overextended landlords need to significantly alter buildings to meet their mortgage obligations. This community has suffered the long-term effects of Madison Realty and their lending practices, starting with Rafael Toledano. And now the same bad practices are happening again. The health and safety of tenants must be paramount.
We're here to support you in demanding that Madison and Silverstone follow the damn rules already.
Yeah.
All right? So, thank you very much for being here.
The second issue is that there are unsafe conditions in these buildings due to the demolition of these units.
Our building has had tons of dust, rodents, mold, ceiling collapses, and sewer leakage coming from old, unkept, stabilized, warehoused apartments.
We're reasonable people. We realize that when you do construction like this on a building, you're going to have a few disruptions. You might have a water turned off briefly. That's how this works.
Our Attorney General informed the powers that be that we're supposed to treat all construction as if it has lead in it. And they haven't. We have hallways that are 20, 30 feet long that have never, ever, ever been renovated. Now, lead paint's been outlawed since, 1978? Our building is over 100 years old. How many layers of lead paint does it contain?
A lot.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. So what do? They knock out the walls in the hallway without telling us that they're going to do this, without telling us that we may be subjected to lead dust, without providing protective anything, and one air scrubber.
We have, in my building, the apartment right next door to me was a gorgeous apartment, beautiful apartment. And it could have just been rented to somebody, just as is. But instead, they completely gutted the apartment. My apartment was filled with dust. I have holes in my walls.
That ain't right.
And I had to spend time that I needed to work. I had to vacuum and clean to make sure I wasn't going to be inundated with the dust because I work at home. Well, the idea that they did that so that they could, plaster over the beauty that was there and charge an enormous amount of rent is unacceptable to me. The warehousing of apartments when we have people on the streets is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Say no. So we need to have housing for all. It is a human right. It is definitely something that must be had. And the other thing is the Frankensteining of apartments, so that they could have deluxe townhouses in our buildings. Nuh-uh, no more. So I'm grateful that we have legislation. Thank you guys. And we have to keep working on that. And that is why we are here today.
We not only care about our tenant safety, but we care about the worker safety. The workers often aren't protected and they're exposed more than we are, frankly. So this is a worker issue as well.
What do we want?
Lead-free air.
Where do we want it?
Everywhere.
What do we want?
Lead-free air.
Where do we want it?
Everywhere.
What do we want?
Lead-free air.
Where do we want it?
Everywhere.
Damn straight.
Thank you again, everyone. Georgina, they have plastic bags, holes in it. Mine, they don't even have plastic bags, so you're doing pretty well. My building is from the 1800s, and I don't think they had Benjamin Moore latex back then. It's definitely lead.
The loophole that we're talking about today is something that landlords, as Brad alluded to, creative destruction of many of these landlords. They're always looking for ways around the law.